This is ASA One-on-One. I'm Jim Hirt, Chief Executive Officer, and we're speaking with leaders of ASA and members from around the world. Today, we're speaking with Linda Trugman, past president of ASA. During your year as president, board and members of ASA are looking at you and saying, we need to do more. But your philosophy seems to have been, let's pare down and focus on what's important to our members in our profession. With the pressures to do more, how did you narrow your focus to try to get things done in your time as president?
One of the things that I learned early on is that the board really needs to be focusing on what's in the best interest of the organization. And we've got a very diverse board, all representing different disciplines in different regions of the country and the world. And I just had to make decisions as to what was going to move the organization forward and not worry so much about individuals' needs and wants.
You implemented a process and a strategic plan. Tell us about the strategic planning process and how that plan developed and how it is being implemented.
The strategic plan was actually created by the Strategic Planning Committee of the board by my predecessor, Gary Smith. He and his committee actually put it together. So when I became vice president and I became in charge of the Strategic Planning Committee, I asked the different members of the committee to start trying to flesh out what we were going to do in order to implement those, our strategic goals. And as they fleshed those things out, we moved them to the board and the board started moving things forward so that when I became president, there were certain things that came before the board approved the plan, and now we're working on implementing them. We've put a couple of task forces in place, a leadership task force and some other things to try and bring some new people into leadership of the organization.
ASA's new logo is branded with a globe and the tagline, providing value worldwide. How does that branding and the new logo fit into ASA's strategic plan?
One of the goals in the strategic plan is to grow membership, and there's a lot of competition in the United States with all of the disciplines, and I think the international marketplace is wide open. So one of the things we've started working on is promoting and developing more international education to try and bring more international members into the organization, try and get our name known outside the United States.
What advice would you give to those who are interested in serving as an ASA leader?
It took me a long time to break into working with ASA committees. I spoke to presidents, I spoke to the BV discipline chair, which is my discipline, and said, I want to get involved, I want to get involved, I want to get involved, I want to get involved. And then finally, they needed somebody to help with education, they needed another education instructor, and the next thing I knew, I was getting involved. And so I think you have to be persistent, you have to know who the right people are to contact, get involved in the chapters. But if you don't make your interest known, nobody's going to call you and say, do you want to get interest? Do you want to get involved? You really need to be proactive if that's what you want to do.
Okay. Your year as president is now over. What observations about your year would you like to share with the members of ASA?
It was an interesting, fun year. It really was. We had some interesting discussions at the board, but I also had an opportunity to attend an appraisal foundation meeting, which I had never done. I went to Mexico and helped them implement a set of standards. I was able to go to Prague and go to a conference. I represented ASA at a Canadian Institute of Certified Business Valuers conference. And I got to know a lot of members and do a lot of things that if somebody had told me even 10 years ago I'd have an opportunity to do, I never would have believed it. It was just such a rewarding, wonderful experience. I'm sorry it's over, I really am.
Well, thank you, Linda, and thank you for watching ASA One-on-One.